Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Life Full Circle Radio. Miguel Lloyd, host of Life Full Circle Radio. And I'm sitting here with the super producer. What's going on, Kia? Did you do your homework?
What's up? I did my homework. We got a lot to talk about, and Charles Barkley is a weirdo.
Yeah,
That's
so
that's
so if this is your first time tuning into Life Full Circle Radio, we take something dramatic off the headlines to dig a little bit deeper into it. And yes, Charles Barkley. So let's talk about Charles Barkley. Let's talk about that story.
Well, let's start from the very beginning.
Let's start from the
Everybody's
beginning.
talking about Breonna Taylor, and on September 23rd, it came down to the grand jury indicted Officer Hankinson on 3 counts of wanton endangerment. And basically, what wanton endangerment is basically the wrongful or reckless of wantedness that likely could produce death or grievous bodily injury or harm. That's what that means, in case anybody wanted to know the exact definition.
And in this case, he shot holes through some drywall.
He shot holes through a neighboring family's wall. 3 shots penetrated the wall of their apartment. He was charged. Nobody else was charged, and nobody was charged directly in the death of Breonna Taylor, which is why a lot of people are protesting and upset. And another thing I did not know about is that the neighbors who he did shoot into their wall, because one guy literally almost got shot in the head, also sued the police department. But I don't know what the actual outcome of that ended up being. But the really upsetting part is that no one was actually charged in Breonna Taylor's death, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, it was her boyfriend's fault. It was this, it was that," and it's upsetting. It's definitely upsetting.
Yes, it is very upsetting. I'm not surprised, and that's part of the upsetting part. That I'm not surprised that this is the outcome. Because this is where we are now. We are at a place right now in our community, in our lives, where it is basically become a political. Humanity has become a political conversation, and this young lady, and it's so crazy when you think about if the situation was reversed, which 9 times out of 10, we don't have any cases where it shows the situation was reversed, but the situation was reversed where you have this woman who was shot and killed in her home. She was in her bed at 1 o'clock in the morning. There's a placemat, a doormat that basically gave the cops the insinuation that, that's probably an armed person that's in this house, right? And a dope dealer who's got guns in his house is not going to put a placemat out front of his house basically saying, don't step in here because you might catch a little heat. That's going to be some NRA type person who has a legal rights for firearms, which Breonna's boyfriend had the right to legally carry. So you don't come in there, you bust into the place, and some cops say, well, that's the reason why they were on edge. Here's the thing. You guys you had the right person in custody already that you were looking for. And instead of coming in there instead of trying to de-escalate this situation at 1 o'clock in the morning, which it wasn't this major kingpin you were going after. This is just, So you could have gotten him in the middle of the first thing in the morning, more light in the house. There's so many different things they could have done. So you fast forward and say, well, people say, well, you know what? He shot at the cop first. Here's the thing. If you come up in my crib and you kicking in my door at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get a couple of hot ones thrown your way too, because I don't know what in the world is going on. And so when it's all said and done, to not even have any sanctions, to not even for the city or the state to not even admit that there's anything that went down outside of the fact that, sorry, here's a check for $12 million. Your daughter is gone. We don't care. And we're going to make every excuse in the book, including Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General in Kentucky. But the worst part about it to me, it's not the worst part. After the death of Breonna Taylor and the fact that this young woman lost her life for nothing, what is so disturbing about this is that it's a political argument that people are saying, well, she was probably a queen pin, or she shouldn't have been dating. First of all, this is her ex-boyfriend, so he's not even dating this guy who supposedly was a dope dealer anymore. I've seen all types of memes about her. She wasn't really an EMT, so you're trying to disregard or trying to discredit her because everything else about her says American patriot, EMT, works for a living, got scriptures on her wall. Everything about that outside of her black face says she's somebody that should be valued.
And she had no kids, right? Or did she have kids?
No, I don't familiar with her any kids. It was just her and her boyfriend.
She got kids from multiple women, from multiple men, so you don't know because they love pulling it out for black women. So there's none of, and
right.
Here's my issue. If her boyfriend would have come out with a bat, let's say he heard what he thought somebody breaking into the house, he was defending his home, and he came out with a bat, and they still shot him. Right. Would they have said, "Oh, he had a bat. We felt like we were in danger"? Where is the line drawn with African Americans being able to defend their home?
There is no line. There is no line. We've seen it so many different ways. We've seen the Philando Castile, who was going to reach into his to show him he has the legal right to carry a gun.
And said, "I'm reaching in to get this."
Right.
He didn't scream. He's like, "Yo, I'm just reaching in to show release the firearm." Instead of the cop just giving it a second. Right. He has to complying.
Right.
And even outside of that, Atiana Jefferson, people seem to forget about her sometimes because her cop is definitely, he's going to get a life sentence. Like, we all know that. He was fired right after, but she was a young lady who was playing video games with her nephew.
Right.
And she was shot through a window because she peeked out and go, like, who was in my backyard? What is going on? Walked away, got shot in the head.
Right.
And I made a post on Facebook yesterday, and I think it threw people off when I said it's really hard to realize that my life doesn't matter. And the reason why I said that, because now it feels like as a black woman, like black men were like, we're already worried about you guys. Now we have to worry about ourselves as black women because we could get shot as well, and it wouldn't really make a difference. Atiana was playing with her nephew. She was shot.
Right.
Breonna Taylor was asleep. She was shot and killed. So what makes it not feel unsafe for black women that we could be asleep, home with our kids in our backyard? I could be gardening with the machete, because we have snakes, and have a cop walk around the corner and say she had a weapon. And it's just like I'm in my own backyard
killing snakes, right?
Killing snakes and doing all that kind of stuff. And this might be dramatic, but I know me and other black women friends I have, we go through our Instagram pages to see which picture they're going to use on the news, and that's the truth. That's where a lot of us are. With this type of stuff.
No, it's ridiculous, and this is where we have to continue to use our voices. I was listening to something yesterday. I don't know which one of the stations. I listen to a lot of talk radio and talk stuff. But anyway, and the conversation was, we can't do violence the way that they do violence. They do violence much better than we do. We're not violent in nature, right? And so when you start talking about fighting back and arming yourselves, and all that is important, and that's things that we need to do to protect ourselves. But in this situation, he was protecting himself, and now his girlfriend is dead. It's just, we just have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting for change. That's the only way that we're going to continue to improve this situation. There's no other way to look at it, is that we have to continue to fight for change. And, it's just so disheartening. It's so frustrating. I got 3 young ladies that I'm raising. I got my wife to protect. You all the way in Florida, and I immediately is like, okay, that's somebody else that I feel responsible for. And then we look up and we say, okay, what else do we have to do? These aren't the dope boys they killing on the block.
No. That's the part that's so crazy. It's not the dope boys.
Right.
It's not the guys that you would expect to be getting shot up because they doing something stupid or they out here doing craziness. These are regular, everyday people. Philando Castile, the young guy in Denver, Colorado, who was walking home getting tea. Who was begging the cops like, yo, I didn't do anything. Whatever you guys need me to do is fine, but can you just let me go?
Right.
And they killed him.
Right. Daniel Prude, who was asking for, his brother was asking for help because his brother was having a mental episode. There's so many different situations where now it's just like your life is discarded. But then I see a video yesterday with a woman up in, I don't know if she was in Jersey or Ohio, and she's upset because it's a black cop. She's at a middle school football game. They asked her several times to put on a mask. She won't put on a mask, and they arrested her. And everybody reading the comments, it was kind of like, I actually enjoyed the trolling because people were like, Karen need to put a mask on, number one, but you guys have no idea what real trauma is. This ain't trauma. All you got to do is put on a doggone mask and you wouldn't have had this issue at all. But now all of a sudden y'all want to sue and he's just and it was so funny. If you watch the video, people who haven't seen this video, just do a search for woman arrested mask, Ohio football game, something like that. Anyway.
Go to my Twitter page, Kia Shakur. It's actually the last tweet that I posted responding to Tommy Lahren because the video.
Oh God, did she get involved?
No, not yet. But that's a whole other topic that we ain't got time for her
Yeah.
mayonnaise behind right now. But
Right.
the video was funny to me because I was like, white people, this is resisting arrest. This is actually what resisting arrest looks like. Like,
Right.
she's actually fighting back. The lady over there is also putting her hands on the cop. We would never do that. And one of our friends was getting arrested. We'd be like, all right, so we know the drill. You got to put your hands to your side, step back. You can't get involved with that. And the other lady friend, I don't know if the lady was trying to calm the white woman down, like, yo, just be calm and get this over with. But she was fighting and struggling and screaming. And no one really came to her rescue. They made a little comments off to the side, but they were just like, yep, okay, well, you shouldn't be hurting her like that. That's not okay. But no one got upset.
Right, because here's the thing in that scenario, but that's a microcosm of the relationships that we have with guns and the law and law enforcement. As you mentioned, black folks, we're not gonna go put our hands on a cop and say stop. We may scream, we may pull out our phone, we may sit up here and say we're gonna but we're not going to because of the repercussions.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, if you watch that video, you hear the person who's recording said, "Oh, we'll call the real police because he can't be a real cop." The words "police" are on the back of this man's shirt. Then they call him a rent-a-cop. Now, mind you, because he's a black cop.
In his defense, I didn't think he was a real cop either. I thought he was either the school security guard or an SRO, which I think SRO a lot of the times are either retired or off-duty cops, something. I didn't think he was a real cop either until I saw the back of his shirt. I'm like, oh, he's just overweight. That's
Well, you know. Well, here's the thing: they're gonna put the overweight on his last legs cop in the middle school at the middle school high school game with a bunch of Karens because you don't really expect to have any issues, right? So you're not gonna have your 25-year-old one all on his steroids at the football game. But point being is that, like you said, the mother.
That's what made me laugh is that she was stronger than him. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I can get her under control.
I'm just going to assume he wasn't trying to manhandle her, because if he'd have manhandled her, then anyway. Let me make my point. So my point is that the mom put her hands on this cop.
Yes. Yes.
You know, which means that your hand was close to his gun.
Yes.
Which means that in any other scenario, if it's a black person, she might have got a hot 6 in her. But it's not going to happen.
That whole stadium would have been aired out. That whole stadium would have been aired out.
It wasn't going. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen. That's just not the way. And that's the part that we try to have this conversation around being treated equally. Yeah. And that woman knew that black cop did not have authority over her. In her mind, that black cop did not have authority over her. And the situation is reversed. Most black people assume, 90% of black people say, a white cop comes up to you with a gun and some mace and a taser, which she got tased. There's authority right there, and you're going to think twice. And so, you know, we started this part of the segment about Breonna Taylor. God bless her and her family. God bless the mental health of our community, because folks are struggling right now. Almost saw LeBron James last night almost break down in tears after the game when asked the question. And people don't get that. People don't get that someone like LeBron, who has a mother and a wife and a daughter, and the responsibility that he really shoulders, because he could be real quiet right now, like most professional athletes have been over the years. But this isn't a new rodeo for him. This isn't new, right, because they're in the bubble. He's been in this fight since 2012 when he was with the Miami Heat, out in the forefront doing this. And so
I remember when Trayvon Martin got killed, he's the one who led their protest, and I think their team got fined.
Yeah, I think I was the Miami Heat. I believe that was 2012 when he and D Wade and Bosh and all of them. But this is a burden that folks just don't get. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna move on real quick to kind of the same subject. But the one reason why black women have some fear sometimes is because sometimes black men aren't in our corner. And in comes Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. They were on, I think it's called First Take.
No. They were probably on the NBA on TNT show. That's where they're always together, because that's the show after the game. But yeah, go ahead.
Inside the NBA.
Inside the NBA. There you go. Loud and wrong. Loud and wrong. Let me do the sports. That's me. That's my thing.
Okay, so Charles Barkley made this quote. I don't think this is one like George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery or anything like that Barkley began. I feel sad this young lady lost her life. I think this one was the no-knock warrant is something we need to get rid of across the board, but I'm worried to lump all these situations together. He continued in saying, I just feel bad that the young lady lost her life, but we do have to take into account that her boyfriend shot the cops and shot a cop. So like I say, even though I am really sorry for loss of life, I don't think we can put this in the same situation as George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery. Right after that, Shaquille O'Neal kind of agreed with him a little bit, said, I have to agree with Charles. And by the way, they never agree with each other, so this is weird. He'll say, I have to agree with Charles. This is one is sort of lumped in. You have to get a warrant signed, and some states do allow no-knock warrants, and everyone was asking for murder charges. When you talk about murder, you have to show intent. A homicide occurred, and we're sorry a homicide occurred. When you have a warrant signed by the judge, you're doing your job, and I would imagine that you would fire back. There are multiple things wrong with what these men are saying. Multiple things wrong.
So here's the thing.
First.
Huh?
I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so here's the thing. None of this surprises me from either one of them. I have been, Charles Barkley has been in the NBA since 1984. So he's 35 plus years in that world. He grew up in Alabama. He grew up played basketball in the SEC. So he's been fully indoctrinated in that community now for the better part of 35 years. Shaq is not that far behind, and he's 30 years plus years in the game. Shaq and I are the same age. And actually, the funny thing here in Georgia where I live, Shaq actually has a home in this community. He's got a house 10 minutes from where we are right now. But he has been an advocate for law enforcement for many years. It was times he was talking about running for sheriff in Florida. They're right. So literally, there is a sheriff, this guy who's running for sheriff here in Georgia. There's a fundraiser that Shaq is doing for him in the next couple of weeks to run for sheriff. Them supporting law enforcement does not surprise me. But sometimes y'all just need to shut up. Especially Barkley. Barkley, and I won't get into his basketball commentary because his cadence of speak is like Trump. He'll say the same thing over and over again 3 times in the same sentence and say it with different inflection. He say, Kia, you're pretty. But you know what, Kia, you're really pretty. And did you know you were pretty? And that would be like his that would be his point that would just so well. No, Barkley, you just said the same thing three times in a row. Point being, Charles Barkley, stay out of politics. You never know. You said to us 30 years ago that you're not a role model. We accepted that from you, that you're not a role model. We get it. This is the stuff. These are conversations that you need to stay out of. Charles Barkley never looks good when he gets into this conversation.
And the thing with Charles Barkley, this is the first kind of semi-anti-black thing that he said. He's had a couple of these weird issues where he's made commentary that hasn't really been pro-black community. And I want to make something very clear from the Life Full Circle radio team. Mm-hmm. We support police officers.
Absolutely.
We do. We support law enforcement. We have already explained our position on abolishing the police and police support. We have already stated that. Right. But when cops make grave mistakes like this, they have to be held accountable.
Right.
You do.
Right.
I mean, no one is saying that no one thinks these guys went in there purposely to murder her. No one is thinking that. No one thinks that. But it is involuntary manslaughter.
It's maybe they didn't go there to murder them, but they did go there with a disregard for life. And my thing is, when you get through that door, you make every attempt to approach that situation where you're not trying to take a life. And that's the part that I don't know what's happening in the training with law enforcement now, but this us against them mentality has got to stop. And as you mentioned,
sorry to interrupt you, but you made a comment about being unsure about the mat in front of the front door. Mm-hmm. If a mat is making you uncomfortable about something you're about to do, then you don't need to be a police officer.
Right. And as a police officer, you're looking for clues. You're looking for all types of clues. Is the door ajar? Or are the shades up so you can see inside? Oh, you look down on this mat and it basically tells you that there's somebody that's going to be in this house that are armed. You see it all the time. You drive down the block, you see somebody has got the rifle sticker on the back of their truck, and you're in Florida, I'm in Georgia. We see this stuff all the time, and so it's that disregard for life is the problem. Now, some of those guys they are there to cause great bodily harm. They are, but other ones are just scary. Other ones are not trained properly, and they just don't have the same respect for life in the black community that they will have in another community. And so to look at the situation, like even they were even saying that what I read was that the hole that went into the white person's apartment is where the charge came from, but the holes went in a black person's apartment, and there were no charges filed. So to black people's walls don't matter either. You know what I mean? It's just so ridiculous. And sometimes you look at it and you say, okay, law enforcement, okay, Republicans, okay, Blue Lives Matter people, when are you going to give up one of your guys? Because somebody has got to be the one that takes the brunt of the responsibility of what we're going through as a country. Because if not, we're getting ready to hit a situation where it's going to be hard to return from. Because people are getting ready to wild out. It's you know, we're close to there now. Most of it is almost like, okay, in Portland and Seattle, and people are marching in Atlanta, and people marching in D.C. But it's getting ready to, I don't know, man. It's getting worse and worse by the day. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. What we got? Let's talk about Trump. We got to do our Trump segment of the day. All right. So yeah, we got to do our Trump segment of the day. So Trump came out in a press conference and basically said there will be no peaceful transfer of power. Let's dig into that.
Yeah, I saw this quote. He was asked by a reporter about the peaceful transfer of power. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. My computer's not wanting to work right. But he basically said that we'll have to wait and see. And no other president in the history of presidentialdom, not sure if that's a word, has ever said that. They've never said no, or we'll have to wait and see, and we'll see how things play out. It's always been, yes, there will be a peaceful transfer of power.
He went even farther than that, Kia. He went even farther to say, basically, we're going to throw out the votes. And then we're going to send it to the Supreme Court. God bless Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her life and what she did for this country now that she just passed away. They're going to force through the Supreme Court nomination to try to get that in, whether it be before the election or right after, so that he can try to throw out the election. You imagine this country of 335 million people. Let's just say 170,000 people vote, because we know everybody ain't going to vote because there's a bunch of buttholes that's not going to vote. So you basically said that, no, your vote means nothing. We're going to go to our Republican states, these battleground states, 5, 7, 8 battleground states. And if 5 of the 8 are controlled by a Republican legislature, we want you guys to stack our electoral college. This is the part that people get upset about, the electoral college. Go put in there who we want to put in there to cast a vote for the people. And keep Donald Trump in there, and there'll be no transfer of power. And he said that there was no smile on his face, there was no laugh, there was no I'm joking, which of course Republicans would try to claim, no, he's just talking out the side of his neck. No, he's not.
I think he really scared Republicans, though. Very rarely do they get scared to kind of just flow with him, be like, oh, well, this and that. They actually had to form a Senate hearing for them all to vote 100% on the same side and say, no. No matter what he says, there will be a peaceful transfer of power. I think this is the one thing where the Republicans will draw the line. You are not going to mess with the Constitution. If there's anything that Republicans stand for more than anything else, it is the Constitution. This is a Constitution issue.
But this is in the Constitution. That's the part that we miss. If it comes down to this is in the Constitution. You can this is what he's doing. He's basically saying, because when it's all said and done, it's only 2 states. I want to say it's Montana and another state where it's in their state legislature that the popular vote will determine how the electoral votes will be separated, will be allocated, right? Mm-hmm. All the other states, it's almost like, here's the thing what we know about Trump. If it's not a law, if it's just a norm, he don't give a damn about norms. So it's a norm that the electorate determines how the electoral college will vote. But it's not a law. In the Constitution, the state legislatures can choose who the electors are, and they can strongly recommend that they vote a certain way. But if they don't, that's in the Constitution. And then at that point, and that's based on if he says that there's any sort of impropriety in the election, he can appeal the election, send it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court can end up deciding this thing based on the Supreme Court that's stacked for the conservatives.
And it is stacked for the conservatives, but that's the one thing I do have trust in is the Supreme Court, is because there have been other issues that have been brought up, like the whole abortion thing they tried to do a couple of years ago. They were like, nah, we're not doing that. That's not a thing. Even one of the Republican judges was just like, no, we're not doing this. We're not about to reform. We take like they were against it. And I feel like with voting, it's the foundation of our democracy. You can't just throw out votes. Maybe he could possibly do it with maybe Florida, because Florida sucks. But he can't do it with the amount of votes that are going to be coming in, the amount of mail-in ballots that are coming in. He can't just say, all this stuff, I don't like it, so we're throwing it away. There's nobody in their right mind that would allow it, especially the Republican Party, because if they do this, they will never recover. You know that. If they do this, they will
everything you're saying is making absolute sense in a normal world. It is making absolute sense that these people really care. When it's all said and done, will the Mitch McConnells of the world say, okay, let's burn this joint down and walk out the back door? Because right now the judges are stacked for the next 40 years, right? We already know that that's the case, right? And so we know that I think this will be, if he loses this one, this would be either be 5 out of the last 6 or 6 out of the last popular elections that Republicans have lost, going all the way back to the early 90s. I want to say the last Republican to win the popular vote in the country was George W. Bush after 9/11.
Yes.
Right? So it doesn't matter. Going all the way back to Bush versus Gore, 2000, he lost the popular vote. So the Republicans know that they're losing ground in that regard. So now they just got to do it through the state legislatures.
I mean, and even interesting enough, let's say, he loses fair and square. They're still concerned they're going to have to drag him out by his ankles. That's what the Republicans' real concern is. They are going to have to embarrassingly drag this man out by his ankles for him to leave the White House. And I know what Melania's going to do. As soon as Melania sees those things, she's probably already got her bags packed, ready to go. It'll be him. That'll be the issue. And
by mid-November, Melania will be spending the rest of the year in Florida. She's like, I'm out.
Exactly.
If he loses, she's going to be out. But to your point, there's.
I bet you. We need to make a bet right now. I will bet you $100 that as soon as he gets out of office, they are getting a divorce. Like a month later, she's filing for divorce.
Well, I wouldn't say a month later, but this situation is really concerning. There's some people that I really trust who know more about this stuff than I do, who have spent time on the Hill, that are really concerned right now that he is going to challenge the Constitution every which way he can with this election.
And even if they don't have to drag him out, he's going to appeal it and try to appeal it again and try to still rally his base and say they sold your votes, they took your votes away. It'll be this whole thing for at least another year after he loses.
Now, whenever he leaves, he's not going to leave. Whether he's peaceful in the White House or he's peaceful at home in Florida, he's still going to be a thorn in the side of America.
Oh, God.
He's going to be a huge thorn in the side. He's going to continue to have that his electorate, his supporters, really, really fired up. He's going to have rallies. He's going to have rallies. He's going to continue to do all this type of nonsense. And hopefully the Republican Party will pull him to the side and cause him enough havoc that he'll be like, okay, this isn't worth it. It's not going to be Democrats. It's not going to be liberals that's going to stop him from acting a plumb fool. It's going to be Republicans that are the only ones that can influence him enough to say, dude, stop. All right, let's move on. What else we got?
R.I.P. to the GOAT, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She had her funeral, since we're still talking about Trump, and Trump was booed at this lady's funeral. Booed. Not quietly, like people whispering like you do at your cousin's funeral when he died and he got two girlfriends sitting next to each other. No, this was real booing. Enough where he just walked away, and then he told the reporters that he didn't hear it. There's no way you didn't hear this. A deaf person on the moon could hear this booing. And people vote him out and honor her wish. And they just did not like him being there. And I don't get the point of him even being there. It's almost like to me, it looked like he was stomping on her grave. Like he was happy she was dead.
He was trolling. He is a troll. Donald Trump is a troll. He went to this woman's funeral, her line in state. He knew nobody wanted him there, and he did not give a damn. He said, you know what? Bottom line is, you're going to have to love me or you're going to have to hate me, but I'm going to be here, and I'm always going to get the spotlight. Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't want you there. John Lewis didn't want you there. John McCain didn't want you there. Most people don't like you. That's, and unfortunately, as a grown man, it shouldn't matter if you're doing what you believe is right, but it does matter to him. That's why he needs to have these rallies right now. That's why he was in Jacksonville, Florida a couple of days ago, and it looked like they was packed in a sardine can. It was so many people on top of each other in Jacksonville. I don't know where they were. I don't know where they were, but wherever they were like they was on top of each other. Yeah, this guy is, he needs the crowd. He needs the adoration. He can't move without having that adoration. And so Ruth Bader Ginsburg from the grave, the people said, okay, honor her wishes. Stop forcing through the Supreme. At her memorial. Like, dude, you couldn't stay away from the memorial. You couldn't show her that much respect.
I don't think he wanted to go. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's like a 5-year-old. Like, well, she didn't want me there, so I don't want to go. But I think his other staffers were like, nah, you kind of just have to show up because you are the president. It's just how things are. You just have to go. And he went. Because think about it. If he didn't
you're giving him too much credit. You're giving him too much credit.
He did not want to go to that. He did not want to go. Why would he want to go?
Because, I almost cussed. Because that's who he is. Like, he just got embarrassed. How many people have died and have all said, Donald, stay away? John McCain, John Lewis, Elijah Cummings, George Bush. Every living president was there except for Donald. Who am I missing?
And Melania was there. The wife went, but he didn't go.
No, he's trying. And here's the other thing he's trying to do right now. He is really, really trying to be more palatable right now. So he stood there and he took the heat with his mask on, which he never wears a mask. You notice he had his mask on to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, literally, dude, do you understand we can Google and know that you go to a rally with 10,000 people, you don't wear a mask, but you're standing at the Supreme Court with the corpse of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and 4 people, and now you want to wear a mask? Man, stop. Man, come on, man. How dumb do you think people are? Like, come on.
I know we talked about it. I'm ready for this stage of American history to be over. I really am. I think it is probably the most depressing time for Americans across the board. I mean, outside of, it was already bad with just having him, and add COVID on top of that. There's nothing really for people to look forward to. And he's point blank period. Forget him being a good president, a bad president. He's not a good person. And he's never been a good person. And it's just now on a grander scale that people can see you're not a good person. You don't like anybody. You think people are disgusting because he is a germaphobe. That's well known. And it's just, you don't like this. So why are you doing it if you don't like doing it?
But the thing about, to me, is that what is more telling and concerning about Donald Trump is that he's not, as you said, he's not a good person.
No.
But there's so many people who really love this guy. And most of the people that I know who run around, who always are feigning support and always screaming about Donald Trump, I look at them and I listen to and I watch the way they act, the way they move. Most of them don't look like they're good people either.
But think about it, though. You like, I get why people like Trump, but you like him as if this was, a sitcom we were watching on TV and not our actual president. We would all be like, oh, it's like Homer Simpson. It's so funny. I love him. He's so funny. Like, wow, he just says crazy things. You like it in that aspect. But I wouldn't want Peter from Family Guy to be our president. Would you? No.
Right, but here the point is, if you have a guy who can entertain you because he's a butthole, and he has control of the pen, there's danger in that. I used to watch, and I always have this thing about my memory. There are things that etch in my memory, and I always go back to them. This was 10 or 15 years ago. Why, flipping through the channels, I was never an American Idol person. But I watched people, they tallied up the numbers and said 43 people voted for, whoever won the American Idol. And I said, man, 43 million people voted for the American Idol, but we can't get 150 people to go out and vote for the president. I said, a celebrity, and at that point I was thinking, I said a celebrity or somebody could win this role because the presidency is a popularity contest. And in the social media age, it's much more apparent now than it used to be. Bill Clinton was the player. You know what I mean? He was. I look at Bill Clinton now. He look like a frail old man now. But he was the handsome guy from the South with a nice little slow drawl, and he was a handsome guy.
It was a popularity case in his case because he wasn't doing well at all until he went on Arsenio Hall and played the saxophone.
Ronald Reagan was a Ronald Reagan. Imagine like who could I name? Imagine like Liam Neeson running for president. Like a B actor, pretty decent movies, but not great, and all of a sudden now he wants to run for president. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with the smartest people. We're not dealing with Obama was a little bit of an aberration. Think about. Obviously Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar, so he's sharp. Hillary's sharp, but you think about a lot of the guys that are on the right. Right.
No, I wasn't looking like that. I mean, the only one I knew for a fact was stupid was George Bush II. George Bush the first was a good one. He was smart.
Now the first one, he was a CIA guy and he was Navy guy. So yeah, he was. But George Bush, Ronald Reagan.
It was George Bush Jr. That was
who was the rich kid brat? He was the brat kid, right?
He was a frat boy. He was a
frat boy. C students in college. He wasn't, but he was a popular guy. He was a Bush. And in the South, people really like the simplicity of people. They don't like people you think you're so smart. You got all your fancy degrees. No, that means I've spent some time and I'm really focused on being intelligent and knowing what I'm doing.
If I was Jeb Bush, I would have smothered George with a pillow a long time ago when we were children, knowing what I know now if I was Jeb Bush, honestly. Because that was Jeb Bush was supposed to be that guy. And Jeb Bush is the Ivy League educated guy. He speaks 2 languages. He got married, got the beautiful mixed kids, like the whole thing, and your dumb brother replaced you? Oh.
And now Jeb doesn't have any interest in public life right now. Like he's like, after I lost to Donald Trump, I'm good. I'm gonna go back and make me some oil money, and I'm gonna keep it moving. All right, what else we got?
We get some drinks, get some girls, have a good time. At that point.
We got to end on something fun. What is there anything out there? Is there anything out there? What?
Tory Lanez, who shot Megan Thee Stallion, put out an album basically saying that he didn't shoot Megan Thee Stallion and calls her rude, stupid, crazy, and everybody who's not on his side, they can kiss his butt. That is what Tory Lanez pulled out about. He was like, how you get shot in the foot, but I don't hit no bones, but I shot you, though. Like, he put out this whole album. And people are dragging him through the mud, rightfully so. He swears he didn't shoot this girl. He is swearing up and down now, all of a sudden, that he did not shoot this girl. That she stepped on some glass.
We are in such first of all, you could play a Tory, what's his name, Lanez, whatever his name is.
Tory
Lanez. You could play some of his joint right now, and I would know who he was. But it's like what people use now to market themselves and make money. It just don't even matter anymore. It does not matter. When it's all said and done, I expect Cardi B to drop a new album in the next couple of weeks. Offset and the Migos to drop something here real soon. It doesn't matter. I just look at the popularity, clicks, and likes, and the ability to reach anybody that you want to reach at a drop of a dime is all that matters. I'm trying to think last time before. Let me think about social media. Here's my famous line. Off subject, but it's not. TikTok, this stuff. You see now they trying to get Walmart to buy it, and I'm looking at it. It's like Donald Trump in social media, man. Social media is running our world, and it's like there's no stopping it. We can't stop it. The train is long out the track. So the whole Tory Lanez thing. Is he gonna get locked up? He shot the girl. Are there any charges pending? What is anything?
No one has any idea what's going on at this point. He's denying it. She said she did. There's a court record. She had surgery for something. So I don't know what's going on. I just think the way he's handled it, he needs to fire his entire PR team. Because I would have never told him to handle it this way. If you didn't do it, you should have said that months ago. I didn't shoot her. What are you all talking about? I did not shoot her. I reached out. Like, he didn't do it. It's stupid. I have one more topic before we wrap it up. And this is not a happy topic. I know it's not happy, but I don't know if you heard, but Vanessa Bryant's mother went on a TV interview basically accusing her of taking her money and kicking her out of the house and all this kind of stuff. And Vanessa came out and said that none of this is true. I pay for your apartment. I also pay your alimony. You haven't been supportive after Kobe's death. And now I'm here all alone. And now I see what you're really after. And the comment I want to make about
hold on. Is that Vanessa's mother or Kobe's mother?
Vanessa's mother, her mother.
Okay.
Yeah. This came out recently, and it just kind of shows that you don't kick people when they're down. Kobe has not even been dead a year yet, and her mother is already going on an interview. Even if you felt wronged, in my opinion, by your daughter or by a family member, you don't go and do an interview on national TV. You at the worst spray paint their car, maybe key it. You cut off their water and electric. You don't go on national TV and try to embarrass them like that and make them feel awful when they already feel awful. It's easy to cut off somebody's water and electric.
I don't get these ultimately just obscenely wealthy people who have disputes over money. You know, one thing, I don't know if we've talked about the Dr. Dre and his wife thing. Have we talked about that yet? Can we talk about that before we wrap? But I don't understand.
$1 million.
Did you hear about her their record company that she cleaned out the bank account of $300,000?
No.
Oh, you missed that part. So she, you know, they got records of her where she took out $300,000 out of an account that she and Dre and another partner, it was a business they had together. She cleaned out that account and got caught. So now you trying to get $20 million or whatever crazy number, whatever.
$2 million a month. A month.
You want $2 million a month. You're married to Dr. Dre, who we know his money's gonna be long from now to whenever, and you go steal $300,000.
But the issue I have with her asking for the $2 million a month is that the breakdown is so stupid. The breakdown is stupid. I get it when you're married to a celebrity for that long, you want to kind of have the lifestyle, but there's a line between lifestyle and now you're being greedy for absolutely no reason. I mean, she had expenses for clothes. $35,000 a month in clothes. Are you throwing these clothes away every month, or what?
Wasn't it something crazy like a $10,000 a month for a cell phone bill or something crazy?
Yeah, $10,000 a month for a cell phone bill, almost $500,000 for travel and homes. Like it's crazy amounts of money.
Like, first of all, that's the most ridiculous. What cell phone carrier do you have that it costs $10,000 a month? That must be some secret.
She got NASA. She got a NASA program.
She got a NASA program where she can go on the moon and make calls back home to Compton. I'm like, come on, man, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, and y'all fighting. When it's all said and done, y'all don't love each other. Whatever the problem is, y'all breaking up. Do this stuff quietly. You know what I mean? Dr. Dre, write her a healthy check. Write her into, like, with the Amazon situation, where, you know, she got a bunch of stock that's going to keep her paid from now to God knows when. Them Beats by Dre headphones ain't going nowhere. That Apple stock ain't going nowhere.
And
we should not be dealing with this stuff.
No one's saying she doesn't deserve anything. That's not what anybody can say.
Of course.
Yeah, she's been married since '96. She has earned her stripes. She deserves some money a month. But $2 million a month?
But she also wants the trademark of his name, and she claims that she owns the album, The Chronic. Like, all the little people, and it's so funny about getting to these little debates because, you know, this is a black woman thing. Oh, take it for all he get. Take it for everything, girl. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So now
Black women impersonation?
It was pretty good, right?
That was awful and mean. It's so sad.
But come on now. So now you own The Chronic. You inspired the album. First of all, have you listened to the album, The Chronic? Because that was one of the most disrespectful albums for black women in the history of hip-hop. So you claiming ownership of that?
I wouldn't. And then I'll just say this. Women, I have said this before years ago. I will say it again. Prenups are your friends. Get a prenup.
She has a prenup. Whatever.
They ripped up their prenup.
Oh, wow.
They ripped up their prenup, so they don't have one. That's what they're going through. This ladies, a prenup is not just for him; it is for you as well. You can make amendments to it.
Yeah.
You can also have it amended after certain years of marriage. Don't. If you give them 2 sons, you can also amend off of that. You can amend it up whatever you want. A prenup is there to protect both parties, not just the guy. Get a prenup. I'm a pro prenup person, 1,000%.
God, I just want black folk to love each other. You've been listening to Life with Circle Radio. Miguel Lloyd, the super producer, Nakia Shakur.
That was super depressing ending.
We'll holler at y'all next week. Peace.
Bye.